when Vanessa tossed the confirmation for our anniversary cabin reservation onto the kitchen counter and said, "I'm going with my friends instead, and you don't get a vote." I didn't raise my voice. I simply checked the booking date on her phone, saw that the beach trip had been planned 2 weeks earlier, and said, "Then don't expect me to keep acting like the man who waits for you at home. I'm Robert, 37, and after 5 years with Vanessa, I thought I understood the difference between giving someone space and letting myself be treated like an afterthought. I was the guy who packed snacks for road trips, remembered which coffee she wanted before long drives, and didn't make a federal case out of every change plan. I didn't want a relationship where either person had to ask permission to breathe. That patience was exactly what she started using against me. At first, Vanessa's independence was one of the things I loved about her. She had her friends, I had mine. She liked doing last-minute things sometimes, and I was usually fine with that. If she wanted a night out with Marissa, I didn't hover. If she wanted a quiet Saturday alone, I didn't turn it into a personal insult. I had been in relationships before where every plan became a negotiation, and I promised myself I would never be that guy. For a while it worked. We had separate routines, inside jokes, lazy Sundays, quick dinners at the counter, and movie nights where she fell asleep halfway through and denied it every time. She used to say, "This is why we work. You don't make me feel trapped." I took that as a compliment. Then the meaning started to change. It began with small things. A dinner reservation I made after she said she needed something nice, just us. 2 hours before she can-led because Marissa was upset and needed the drink. I said, "Okay." Another time, she skipped my cousin's birthday get-together after promising she would come with me because family events are emotionally draining. I went alone and told everyone she had a headache. There were movie tickets, a Saturday morning hike. She picked a weekend brunch with people she said she wanted me to meet. Plans kept getting canceled, but only the plans with me. Whenever I reacted, even mildly, her language sharpened. "You're being clingy. You're making this weird. I'm allowed to have a life. You don't own me, Robert." The first few times I backed off because I didn't want to become the controlling boyfriend in someone else's story. I told myself she was stressed. I told myself 5 years meant we were past keeping score. I told myself flexibility was maturity. Well, I realized flexibility had become my job and freedom had become her excuse. The cabin weekend was supposed to be different. It was our 5-year anniversary, and honestly, it had been Vanessa's idea first. One night, a few months earlier, she sat cross-legged on my couch with her laptop open, flipping through rental photos and saying, "We need this. No people, no noise, no last-minute obligations, just us." She picked the place. She picked the dates. She even typed the shared calendar entry herself. Anniversary weekend. No. Canceling this time. I remember laughing when she wrote that. Bold, I said. She grinned. "I'm serious. We need to be intentional." The cabin wasn't some luxury getaway. It was just a quiet place with a porch, a fireplace we probably wouldn't have used properly, and a short trail nearby that she said looked cute enough to pretend we're outdoorsy. I paid the deposit because the reservation was under my name, and she sent me links to restaurants nearby and a note that said, "Pack the gray hoodie. I'm stealing it." 3 days before we were supposed to leave, I came over after dinner and noticed she seemed tense before I even took my jacket off. She was wiping the same spot on the counter with a paper towel that was already dry. Her phone was face down. Beside her, there was a half-empty glass of water near the sink. I said, "Everything okay?" She didn't look at me. "Marissa invited me to the beach this weekend," she said. "It's spontaneous. Just the girls. I'm going For a second, I thought I misheard her. This weekend, I asked. Yes, Robert. This weekend? Our cabin weekend. She made a face like I had said something embarrassing in public. Don't start. I put my keys down slowly. I'm not starting anything. I'm asking because we booked it months ago. I know what we booked. You helped pick it, and now plans changed. That sentence landed heavier than it should have. Not because a plan could never change, but because she said it like I was a rideshare driver asking why she changed the destination. I said, the refund deadline is tomorrow morning. If we cancel after that, we lose another chunk of money. She crossed her arms. So this is about money now. No, it's about the fact that you're canceling our anniversary weekend 3 days before we leave. Her eyes narrowed. If you actually loved me, you'd want me to have a life outside of you. I stared at her for a second because that was such a practice line that it felt like she had been waiting to use it. I do want you to have a life outside of me, I said. I just didn't know her plans only mattered until something more fun came up. There it is, she snapped. You always make my freedom about your feelings. No, I said. I'm making your cancel promise about the promise. She let out a laugh, but it had no humor in it. I'm not asking permission, Robert. I didn't think I had to give permission for a weekend we already planned together. You're acting like my parent. I'm acting like your boyfriend who thought we had plans. You don't get to manage my life. I'm not managing your life. I'm reacting to you canceling on ours. That was when she grabbed her phone. I saw the screen light up because her thumb hit it too hard. A hotel confirmation flashed open. For half a second before she turned the phone away, I wasn't trying to read it. I wasn't grabbing her phone. I wasn't even close enough to see the whole thing, but I saw the date at the top. 2 weeks earlier, my stomach dropped, not because she was going, but because she had known. I said, how long have you known about this trip? She paused just long enough to answer the question. Without answering it, why are you interrogating me? I'm asking because you called it spontaneous. It is spontaneous, Vanessa. Oh my God, she threw one hand up. This is exactly why I need space. You turned a fun weekend into a relationship trial. That was when something shifted in me, not dramatically. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten to break up. I didn't do the thing she seemed ready for me to do. I just got quiet. She looked almost more irritated by that than she would have been if I had argued. I said, go if you want. She blinked. Excuse me, I'm not going to stop you. Her face tightened. You say that like I need your approval. You don't. You're right. You can choose your weekend, but don't expect me to act like this doesn't change anything. So now you're punishing me. No, I'm listening to you. You're telling me where I fit. She grabbed her purse from the chair. I'm not doing this with you. You brought it up, and now I'm ending it. She walked out like she expected me to follow her to the parking lot. I didn't. I stayed in the kitchen listening to the silence after the door closed. 10 minutes later, the text started. You're really going to make me feel guilty for having friends? I cannot believe you're being this insecure. You are proving Marissa right. That last one made me stare at my phone longer than the others. I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Then I wrote, you are free to go. I am free to respond to being treated like the backup plan. She responded almost instantly. Wow, dramatic. Then another message. I guess I know what kind of man you really are. I put the phone down. The next morning, I opened our shared Google Calendar to check the cabin reservation details. I needed the cancellation deadline and the confirmation number. The anniversary weekend was still there with her old note. No canceling this time. I stared at that for a minute, longer than I should have. Then I noticed something else. Vanessa had a Private calendar linked to the same app because we used to send each other availability for plans. I couldn't see all her details and I never cared to. But one event showed as busy from Friday morning to Monday afternoon. The title was hidden, but the timestamp showed when it had been added 13 days ago. I felt that cold, steady feeling you get when your body catches up to what your mind already knows. I took a screenshot of the timestamp and the anniversary calendar entry. Then I canceled the cabin before the final charge hit. I lost part of the deposit, but not the full amount. I didn't touch anything belonging to Vanessa. I didn't call the hotel she was going to. I didn't ask anyone where she was staying. I just cleaned up the responsibilities tied to my name. Then I checked the payment app because I remembered Vanessa once complained that Marissa was slow to pay people back. Her Venmo was public. I had never looked through it before because I had no reason to. There it was. Vanessa paid Marissa. Hotel split date almost 2 weeks before she can let on me. People call things private until they forget. They posted the receipt themselves. I sat back on my couch and laughed once. Quietly, not because it was funny, because the lie was so lazy. That afternoon, Marissa threw the first public jab in the group chat. Some people don't survive their girlfriends having fun, LOL. No one said my name, but everyone knew who she meant. Vanessa replied with 3 laughing emojis. Trey sent. Let's not. Lena changed the subject to game night the following week. I didn't reply. That night, Vanessa texted again. You're seriously ignoring me now. I wrote, we can talk when you're back. I'm not doing this while you're on the trip you chose. She wrote back, so you are punishing me? I didn't answer. The next morning, her location sharing turned off. That was one of those small things that would have meant nothing by itself. We had location sharing on mostly for convenience, not surveillance. She was the one who had suggested it years earlier after getting stranded with a dead car battery. Half the time I forgot it existed. But that morning, right before she left, it disappeared. A few hours later, she texted, phone battery is weird, so if my location is messed up, that's why. I looked at the message for a long time. Then I put my phone face down and went to my brother's place for dinner. He knew something was off because I barely touched the food. He didn't push. He just handed me a plate and said, you want to talk or pretend? The game is interesting. I said, pretend. We pretended for about 10 minutes. Then I told him everything. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, so she planned a trip, lied about when canceled on your anniversary, and already had a defense ready before you reacted. That's the shape of it. Is Evan involved? I hated that his name came up so easily. Evan was Vanessa's old friend. According to her, he was basically family, not even a factor, and the kind of guy who flirts with everyone but means nothing. I had met him a handful of times. He wasn't openly rude to me, but he had a way of acting like he knew Vanessa better than anyone in the room. When he hugged her, his hand lingered a second too long. When she laughed at his jokes, she looked at me like she was daring me to notice. Once a year earlier, I asked if there had ever been anything between them. Vanessa rolled her eyes so hard. She turned the conversation into an argument about my insecurity. Evan is not the problem, she said back then. Your need to make every man around me suspicious is the problem. I had let it go at my brother's table. I said she said it was just the girls. He made a face. That wasn't my question. The answer came the next day from someone who wasn't trying to expose anything. Lena posted an Instagram story from a hotel lobby. It was one of those quick clips where people are dragging bags, laughing, and holding iced coffees like they're documenting a celebrity arrival. The caption said, round 2 with a chaos crew. In the background, reflected in the lobby mirror, was Evan. Not hidden, not mistaken. Evan standing near a rental car key counter, laughing with Marissa while Vanessa leaned against a suitcase beside him. I watched the clip once, then again, then I took a screenshot before it disappeared. The part that bothered me wasn't Evan existing. It was Vanessa making me feel crazy for ever asking whether he would be there. 30 minutes later, Vanessa texted me a selfie from the beach. Her sunglasses covered half her face. The message said, "See, alive, having fun. Hope you can handle that." I didn't reply. She sent another one a few minutes later. "You're being so cold. This is why I needed space." Then maybe because she was irritated, maybe because she was careless, she sent me a screenshot of our text thread with a message typed underneath it. Before she could delete it, I saw the notification banner at the top. "Marissa, tell him Thursday night so he can't ruin it." Under that, from Vanessa, visible in the preview. "If he gets mad, I'll just say he's being controlling again." My hand went still around the phone. Then another notification appeared in the screenshot preview, this time from Marissa again. "He's trained. He'll sulk and still be there Monday." The screenshot vanished from our chat. A moment later, deleted, but my phone had already saved the image preview in the notification stack. I took a screenshot of that too. I didn't feel angry at first. I felt embarrassed. Not in the way she wanted me to feel, not like I had done something wrong, but embarrassed that I had spent so long trying to be fair with someone who was disgusting me like a dog who could be trained. That night, I sat on my living room floor and packed the small things Vanessa kept at my place: a charger, a bottle of face wash, a pair of spare sandals she wore when she took out trash, a hoodie of mine she had claimed so long ago that it smelled more like her perfume than me, an old mug with a chipped handle because she said coffee tasted better in ugly mugs. I thought I would feel dramatic packing her stuff. Instead, I felt tired. I didn't throw anything away. I didn't break anything. I put it all in a clean box and set it near the door. Then I went through the little conveniences that had become automatic: the streaming account under my email, the membership charge to my card that she used more than I did, the shared planning folder with trip ideas, receipts, restaurant lists, and photos of cabins we never ended up visiting. I removed her access only from things tied to me. Nothing more. No revenge. No threats. No messy social media post. Just a line. I texted her one final message before she came back. "You were right. I don't get to control your weekend, but you don't get to keep treating me like the backup plan." She called 6 times after that. I let it ring. On Monday evening, she showed up at my place without asking. I had a feeling she would, so the box was already by the door. When she saw it, her face changed. "Wow," she said. "So, we're doing the dramatic box thing." I opened the door wider, but didn't move aside completely. "I thought it would be easier than having you come back and forth." She looked past me into the apartment. "Are you serious right now?" "Yes." She folded her arms. "I had a healing weekend with my friends and I come back to this. A healing weekend you lied about." Her jaw tightened. "I did not lie. You said it was spontaneous." "It felt spontaneous. You paid Marissa for the hotel almost 2 weeks before." Her eyes flickered. "Just once, but I saw it. You're checking my payments now. They were public. Normal boyfriends don't keep receipts. Normal girlfriends don't need a strategy for lying." That landed. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "This is about Evan." "No," I said. "Evan is just the part you thought would make me look jealous if I mentioned it. This is about you canceling on me, lying about the timing, lying about who was going, and planning to call me controlling. No matter how I reacted." She looked away toward the hallway. "You're making it sound worse than it was." "I'm making it sound like what happened. You don't know what it's like to feel like you Constantly have to report yourself. I let out a breath. Vanessa, I asked why. You canceled our anniversary weekend. You interrogated me. I asked one question. You had a tone. You had a plan. She looked back at me, eyes wet. Now, but her voice still sharp. So what? You're breaking up with me because I took a trip? No, I said. I'm realizing I should have taken the pattern seriously. Earlier, she pushed the box lightly with her foot. 5 years and you're just done. 5 years is exactly why I know this. Wasn't one bad weekend. She wiped under one eye fast, almost angry at the tear. For showing up, I can't talk to you when you're like this. When I'm calm, when you're cold, I'm not cold. I'm done being managed. She took the box and left. Without another word, I thought that was the end of the public part. It wasn't. The following Friday, Trey hosted game night. I almost didn't go. The group had been awkward all week. A few people had gone quiet in the chat. Marissa was still posting vague quotes about weak men and independent women. Vanessa hadn't texted me since Monday, which felt less like peace and more like preparation. Trey called me that afternoon. Look, he said, I don't want drama in my place. Then maybe I should. Skip. I didn't say that. I'm saying I'm inviting you because you're my friend. 2. Just don't come ready to fight. I'm not fighting anybody. He paused. She's telling people you tried to ruin the trip. I figured you okay? I looked at Vanessa's box-shaped absence near my door and the clean space where her mug used to be. No, I said, but I'll behave. Game night felt normal for about 15 minutes. Pizza boxes were stacked on Trey's kitchen island. Someone had a Bluetooth speaker playing low in the corner. Cards were spread across the coffee table. Lena was sitting on the arm of the couch scrolling through her phone. Evan was there, which surprised me, but not enough to react. He nodded at me like we were 2 guys waiting for the same elevator. Vanessa arrived with Marissa. She looked great. That annoyed me more than it should have. She wore the green sweater I had always liked and acted like nothing was wrong. She hugged people, laughed too loudly, and avoided looking directly at me for the first half hour. Then the joke started. Someone mentioned needing a vacation after a bad work week. Marissa leaned back against the counter and said, careful. Apparently, vacations require committee approval now. A couple of people laughed because they didn't know whether they were supposed to. Vanessa smiled into her drink. I stayed quiet. Trey shot Marissa a look. Don't. Marissa held up both hands. What? I didn't name names. Vanessa sighed, performing reluctance. It's fine. I mean, Robert and I had a disagreement because I went away for a weekend. That's all. I set my cup down. She glanced at me. Then, finally, I'm not trying to start anything. That was a lie too. Marissa said some guys hear girls trip and suddenly become private investigators. This time, the laugh was smaller. Vanessa added, Robert almost turned my weekend into a hostage negotiation. That was when I stopped protecting her. Version. I looked at Vanessa and said, do you want to tell them it was spontaneous, or should I show them the hotel payment from 2 weeks before you canceled on me? The room went quiet so fast the music suddenly sounded too loud. Trey reached over and turned the speaker down. Vanessa froze with her drink halfway to her mouth. Marissa's eyes narrowed. That is so weird. Why do you have? I didn't look at her. I kept my eyes on Vanessa. You brought this up in front of everyone, I said. I'm answering it in front of everyone. Vanessa lowered the cup. You're embarrassing me. No, I said. You counted on me being too embarrassed to correct you. Nobody moved. Lena looked between us. Wait, you told him it was last minute. Vanessa said it basically was. I pulled out my phone, but I didn't wave it around like some courtroom scene. I opened the screenshot of the public payment and held it where only the People closest could see if they wanted. 2. Trey looked, Lena looked, Evan looked away. The payment says hotel. Split, I said, almost 2 weeks before she can let our anniversary cabin. Marissa scoffed. Okay, so plans existed. Women are allowed to make plans. Absolutely, I said, and I never said she couldn't go. Vanessa's voice got smaller, but sharper. You made me feel like I couldn't. I asked why you lied about it. Lena's face changed. I thought Robert knew Evan was going. Now everyone looked at Evan. He held up one hand weakly. I'm not trying to be part of relationship drama. Then don't let people use your presence as a secret. Trey said quietly. Evan looked at the floor. Marissa jumped in again. This is exactly what I'm talking about. He's making a whole weekend about another guy existing. I turned to her then. No, I said, you told her to tell me Thursday night so I couldn't ruin it. Marissa's mouth opened and then closed. Vanessa looked like I had slapped the air out of the room. I opened the accidental screenshot, not the whole conversation, just the notification preview. I held it up long enough for Vanessa to recognize it. I read it once calmly. Tell him Thursday night so he can't ruin it. Then I looked at Vanessa and your reply was, if he gets mad, I'll just say he's being controlling again. The silence after that was different, not awkward, heavy. Trey rubbed a hand over his mouth. Low whispered, Vanessa. Vanessa's eyes filled. I deleted that. No. So you saved it? That's insane. You sent it to me by accident. Yes, I said. Most truth shows up that way. Marissa snapped. You're acting like you're perfect. I'm not perfect, I said. I stayed too long. I ignored too much. I made excuses because I didn't want to be unfair. That's on me. Vanessa looked around the room like she was searching for someone to pull her out. No one did. I continued, not loudly, not dramatically, just clearly enough that I wouldn't have to say it again. The issue was never Vanessa taking a trip. The issue was canceling something we planned together, lying about when the new plan started, lying about who was going, then setting me up to be called, controlling whether I complained or stayed quiet. She wanted the freedom to do whatever she wanted and the security of knowing I'd still be there when it was convenient. Vanessa shook her head. You're twisting everything. Trey said, I'm not picking sides, but that is not how you made it sound. Lena nodded. Slowly, you said he knew and was just being weird about it. Vanessa snapped. I said he was making it weird because he was. I said, you can choose your weekend. You can choose your friends. You can choose Evan, Marissa, the beach. Whatever. I don't own you. I never wanted to. But freedom does not mean I have to save your seat when you come back. Her face crumpled then, and for 1 second, I almost felt cruel. Then she said, you embarrass me on purpose. I looked at her and felt that old impulse to soften the truth for her comfort. I didn't. You opened the door. I said, I just stopped letting you lock me outside with the blame. She grabbed her purse and left. Marissa followed her, but not before saying, hope you're proud of yourself. I didn't answer. Evan left 10 minutes later after telling Trey he had an early morning. He never spoke directly to me. That said enough. The rest of game night didn't recover. Nobody clapped. Nobody made some dramatic speech about how I was right. People just stood around in that uncomfortable way adults do when they realized they laughed before they understood the joke. Lena came up to me near the kitchen sink. I'm sorry, she said. I honestly thought you knew he was there. Vanessa said you were fine with it. I figured. She winced. That doesn't make it better. No, but thanks. Trey walked me to the door later. I don't know what happened between you two before, he said, but she shouldn't have told it like that. That's all I needed anyone to understand. He nodded. You okay to drive? Yeah, I wasn't okay, but I could drive. Vanessa called me that Night at 12:41 a.m. I remember because I stared at the time for 3 rings. Before answering, her voice was, "I can't believe you did that to me." I sat on the edge of my bed. You tried to turn our breakup into group entertainment. You humiliated me. You chose the audience. I was venting. You were lying. She went quiet, then softer. I didn't cheat on you. I didn't say you did. Then why are you acting like I did something unforgivable? Because trust can break without cheating. She cried then, not loud, not theatrical, just tired crying. I just needed to feel free, she said. I closed my eyes. There it was again, the word that had covered every broken promise like a fresh coat of paint. You keep saying freedom when what you mean is no accountability. That's not fair. Neither was making plans behind my back and preparing to call me controlling if I noticed. I panicked. No, you planned. She inhaled shakily. So 5 years means nothing. 5 years means I know the difference between a mistake and a pattern. I can change. I hope you do. Robert. I looked around my bedroom. The side of the dresser where she used to leave earrings was empty. The charger she always stole was back in my drawer. The old mug was gone. I'm done, I said. She started crying harder. You're really ending us over a weekend? No. I'm ending us because this was never about me controlling your weekend. It was about you controlling the story. She didn't have an answer for that. The next few weeks were ugly in a quiet way. Vanessa sent long messages, then deleted some before I could respond. Marissa blocked me after posting one final vague story about men who weaponized calmness. Evan disappeared from the group chat entirely. A few friends reached out privately. Some apologized, some stayed carefully neutral. One person told me, I don't want to get involved, which was fine because I had stopped asking people. 2. Vanessa came by once more to return a jacket of mine. She looked smaller than she had at game night. Not physically, just less sure of the version of herself she had been performing. I hate how this ended, she said. Me too. I loved you. I know you loved me. I did. She looked up quickly at the past tense. I didn't correct it. She said, I wish you had fought for us. That one almost got me, not because it was true, but because I had fought for us in all the quiet ways that didn't look dramatic. I had adjusted. I had waited. I had swallowed disappointment. I had believed explanations that got thinner every time. I had tried to be fair so hard that I became unfair to myself. I did fight, I said. I just didn't fight you for permission to matter. She cried again, but this time I didn't step closer. I didn't hug her. I didn't turn one sad moment into another. Restart. She left the jacket folded on the chair and walked out. I blocked her. A week later, after one final text, it said, I hope someday you realize I was not trying to control where you went. I was deciding where I would no longer stay. Then I blocked the number before I could turn it into a conversation. I still think about that cabin sometimes. Not in a romantic way, more like an alternate version of the weekend sits in my head. The one where we drove out with too many snacks, argued over music, made bad coffee in a cheap rental kitchen, and remembered why 5 years meant something. But that weekend wasn't real. By the time she canceled it, maybe it hadn't been real for a while. What I had was a relationship where my patience had become expected, my disappointment had become inconvenient, and my boundaries were treated like accusations. I am not proud of needing evidence to be believed. I'm not proud of how long I ignored the pattern because I wanted to be the kind of man who trusted his partner. But I am proud that when the truth finally showed itself, I didn't scream, beg, stalk, threaten, or compete. I simply stopped waiting. A person has every right to choose their weekend. The other person has every right to decide they're done being the option left behind. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.